What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of TK's Brew. I'm your host, DJ Kino, with my co-host, Tommy Tom, in the building. Say what's up.
What's up? What's up, guys? How's it going? Today we have a very special guest, Hunter, the man himself.
What's going on, guys? I appreciate y'all bringing me on today.
Man, thank you for coming.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, it was. I really wanted to have you on too because, as people should know, he's an IFBB pro. Recently got his pro card in August, right?
End of August, last day of August. Yeah.
But yeah, this should be an interesting one. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background.
So like you said, I'm an IFBB pro professional bodybuilder. I turned pro last year at USA's. I also coach, so that's what takes up most of my time now, even more than myself competing. I was a college athlete before I got into bodybuilding. I played baseball at a college in Dallas as a JUCO. And I was coaching baseball after that. So that's kind of where I fell in love with coaching. And then I kind of fell out of love with baseball. And bodybuilding was something that denying the passion for it was getting old. You know what I mean? It was like I could tell when I woke up, I was thinking about one thing. When I went to sleep, I was thinking about one thing. And it was time to get baseball out of my life and give that dream the focus it needed, right? So that's what I've been doing for the last... I started bodybuilding at 14, but I couldn't really do it until I quit baseball. So that was after my freshman year of college. So been doing it since 19, basically full-time, 27 now, but started at 14, dabbling.
So tell us a little bit of your journey turning pro. How was that?
A long journey.
I know I've heard it a few times, a few stories.
So, highs and lows, like anything, right? Anything worth doing is very difficult. And I think if it was any easier, it definitely wouldn't have held the value that it does to me, right? So I did my first show. I was 20 years old, 19 or 20. Yeah, 20. And still natural. I won my class in the novice division. Got my feet wet. I remember... I look like a hairless boy. Like, when you do your first show, you're just a natty little kid. I weighed 162 pounds. And I saw Michael Wright. I don't know if any of you know who Michael Wright are, but he's a bodybuilder out of Dallas. And he had his whole crew there, and they were monsters, man. Like, different level conditioning. So we showed up to the tanning, and I remember seeing those guys. And I saw Michael Wright's post going into the show, and him talking about how many times he had gone to nationals and his struggles trying to turn pro. So in my mind, I'm like, this guy's gone to nationals that many times and hasn't turned pro, and he is huge and he's shredded. And I'm just looking at myself and I'm looking at him and his client, Brad Joseph, super cool guy. He ended up beating me in the open lightweight class. I placed second to him. That was cool. It was kind of pivotal for me. He's super positive. And both these guys were super positive. That's why it was kind of cool for my first show. There's a whole bunch of people there that really just kind of like took me on under their wing. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anything. I prepped myself coming into that show. And it was a really cool experience. But I remember seeing them and thinking, not only do I have to be as good as them, I have to surpass them. And I looked at myself, and right then that was like the last moment of doubt. I was like, yeah, of course I can do it. I don't know how, but that's what has to happen, So, and then the next show, I waited a couple years. I was, trying to learn how to be an adult, trying to learn how to live life. I think that I had the training, not to say that my training couldn't have improved, but I had that pretty good. And my nutrition, I was, very focused. One thing led to another in life. And some of the stuff that we spoke about before the podcast, just personal stuff that all dudes deal with, And then I had a couple I had a couple friends overdose. And just a bunch of bad stuff was happening, man. I was back into the bar industry. I was kind of taking drugs. I was fucking around again. I was wasting time. And then at that point, I was like, it all came to a head one night. You know what I mean? And I remember it was a ridiculous evening. And I was there with my buddy, and I remember he looked at me and he was like, dude, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to use it. And I had never, used any PEDs before. And that's when I was like, all right, let's do it. And so
what is a PED?
Performance enhancing drug.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. So I cash apped this guy that I talked to on Instagram just about coaching me like months prior. And he never said that he would coach me. And I cashed apped him for the whole prep, and I said, "You're coaching me." And I wasn't even positive it was the right cash app, right? But I was like, "You're doing this, right?" Yeah. So I remember after I was bouncing at the mark, I went home and I did that. And I went and did cardio, and that's when that prep started, and that's when I won my first overall. 2 weeks out from that show, it was supposed to be a week out from a different show. I got a testicular torsion. And it's almost lost my nut, right?
Yeah, I was like, that sounds painful.
It was pretty.
Holy goddamn.
It was pretty brutal. And then the nurse was like, "If you want to compete, you can compete. It's just it's just a pain tolerance thing." And so I remember being on the Stairmaster, walking super slow. You know what I mean? And luckily, the inflammation came down, and I picked a show just a week later. And we went, and I didn't really know what to expect. So I'm tanning again, that same instance from the first. I'm seeing these guys that are big, and I was like, holy shit, okay, this guy's gonna fuck me up. I might got this guy. And then I look at the next guy, and I'm like, oh fuck. And then they go, all right, IFBB pros, exit the room. We're gonna bring the amateurs in. I was like, whew, I was in the wrong room. So I was with these monsters, And then I see the amateurs come in, and I was like, okay.
We got this.
You know what I mean? Like, who's getting second today? You know what I mean? It was like that first time that people were looking at me kind of saying, oh, fuck, right? And it's a good feeling, because the underdog place is a very comfortable place to be. Everybody wants to be the underdog because you're not expected to win, right? After this show, I never had the privilege of going to a show not expected to win again. You know what I mean? Every single show that I did after the show, you're not the underdog, you're expected to win. So if you don't place first out of 30 people, you lost, you failed, right? That's the difference between football. Like, you can hide on the bench and your team can still win. You could throw an interception, your team could still win.
Yeah.
You could strike out 3 times in baseball, your team could still win. But in bodybuilding, it's the last man standing or you failed. And a lot of people will say you can't chase the W, right? You can't be expecting to win every time. That's not like why we do this. But that's the whole point of a winning mindset, right? There are pros and cons, and that's why not everybody wants to have that, right? So if you want to hedge your bets and you want to live that way, you certainly can. But for me, when I launched to do something, I can find success within failure, but make no mistake about it. Like, I'm going to get ready for my pro debut come 2024, and I expect to win. So I don't care.
It's crazy.
It's just that's the mindset that I feel like you have to have. So I won the overall in classic, and I won my class in bodybuilding, but that was the last time that I was ever able to make weight for classic physique. So I knew it was moving on to bodybuilding from then. And then everything was pretty good. Like life, I kind of got under control again. But I didn't really I didn't change that much. It just, things weren't happening in life, right? And then as the stressors in life come, the issues start to reveal themselves again. So I really saw success with the path of, prepping for the show and having something to focus on. And I wanted to do it again, but I didn't want to go do another local show because, if I want another local show, where am I? You know what I mean? Same thing. So I also knew that I wasn't ready to turn pro. I figured I'm going to go do nationals in Orlando. I'm going to get my ass beat, and then I'm going to be super motivated, right? And so I go to a show with my friend Taylor Morrow. Shout out, she's an IFBB pro in figure. And her coach at that time was competing, and my coach was competing at that time. Not yet, but I knew he was competing, and I wanted to see him, So I had heard really good things about him. We used to work in the same company, and he was somebody that was always just a high achiever I looked up to. We're like the same age. He's one of those people that you're like, he's succeeding in what he does. We'd work well together. You know what I mean? He's somebody that you want in your circle. He's a nice guy too. So I went, saw him compete, and I didn't even say anything to him. I really liked the way that his circle was with him, and he's just such a positive guy. I see a lot of positive energy, and for me at that point in life, that's what I needed, right? I didn't need any more negative energy. So I called him and I hired him. We started getting ready for nationals, and within 2 weeks, that mindset of wanting to go and get humbled turned to, I'm going to turn pro or fucking die. Because in my mind, this is so delusional right here. This is so delusional.
I fucking love this.
So this level of delusion is, so all the things that I went through in life, the things that fucked your ego up, the things that, fucked you up emotionally, I thought that it wouldn't matter anymore if I turned pro, right? Okay, so I embark on this journey with an intensity that I think will free me from the bullshit if I turn pro. It's delusional, right? But I launched, and I prepped harder than I've ever prepped in my life, and went off the fucking deep end. You know what I mean? Like anything that comes between me and getting pro, I fucking destroyed, whether it was a relationship or whatever. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. So it was, so it was a desperate attempt, right? Like, for example, I got T-boned like a week out from the show. And this kid was like smoking, drinking in his car with college kids, or high school kids actually. And I was like, you know what? Fuck off. I don't even care. Fuck my car. I'm going to come back with a pro card and have a bunch of money. It's all good. I don't want this kid to go to jail. And I honestly was more concerned with getting home and getting my cookies and cream protein. I remember calling Taylor and be like, hey, I need you going to Rocks and getting the protein before they close. Because I was that starved, man. I was just like fucking losing my mind. You know what I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah,
I was
the delusion.
I was fucking losing it, right? And so I went to nationals, right? We pulled 17 pounds of water off to make weight for welterweights.
Jesus.
Yeah. I have pictures that were fucking ridiculous, right? So, you know, we had like 30 something people on stage. They peel everybody off stage. There's like 3 people left. Top 2 gets a pro card, right? And I step into that third box. And dude, when they called my number and said Hunter Lee, I was like, dude, is there another 137 Hunter Lee? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, and I was looking around, like, I was like, oh my fuck. And it just like black. I was like, oh my God, I just lost. I just fucking lost. And it was over. There was no Nook show the next day or anything like that. You know, it's over. So I went home and I need a long off season. My body's fucked up. My mind is fucked up. You know what I mean? And I waited a whole 8 weeks. And then I called Casey and I was like, I need to get back in it. You know, that's what I told him. I was like, I need to get back in a fight, dude. Like, I can't just sit around. I got so close that I was like, until I do that, I'm not going to be able to draw breath. I'm not going to be able to be happy. I'm not going to be able to enjoy other aspects of life until I accomplish that. Yeah. And it was not a healthy place to be. So I was early in the sport, so I thought I needed to requalify. So I'm actually 10 weeks into a prep now. Just adding in the good stuff, right? The harsh stuff. And when you start taking that stuff towards the end of a prep, you kind of have a timeline. You know what I mean? Because you can't run it extensively. Yeah. So we're getting ready. I'm 4 weeks out. I've been prepping for 10 weeks. It was a 14-week prep. And I was at a client show, actually. He won that show. It was the Legends. It was Michael Littlefield in Classic. And I was talking to Branch Warren. I was talking to Brian Dobson, some other pros that were at the show. And they're asking me if I was competing. And I was like, no. And I explained what I was doing. And they're like, why are you requalifying? I was like, because I want to do nationals. And they're like, yeah, but you placed top 3, so you don't have to requalify. You already, that qualified you for the next year's nationals. So I called Casey and I was like, yo, is this true? And he was like, it was just something that we didn't know, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to be eating Pop-Tarts until you tell me whether this is true. And we're both on our phones. So we're like, okay, you are ready. You're qualified. You're good to go. Let's go USA's. It's 20 weeks out. So that means prep for 20 weeks in nationals, 8-week break. Oh my God. 30 weeks into USA's, right? And so, and Casey, my coach, that's my boy. You know what I mean? Like we rode that prep out and I was a monster, you know, and he was an angel. I was losing my shit, you know. And I was working at Gaines Bakery with Ross Flanagan and Elena, you know, run Gaines Bakery. So I was working there and I was like filling up sauce every morning with Elena. And Casey had a health scare. He actually went into a coma, and that really fucked with me. That was like 2 weeks out, and obviously, like, you know, he was okay, ended up being okay. Pretty crazy seeing him in a wheelchair, and then like less than a year after, he's like hack squatting 6 plates for like 15 reps. It's pretty cool. So he's a savage. Shout out. Fucking crazy, man. It's fucking motivating. Yeah, really cool. And I remember like never feeling any form of pity for him whatsoever, because like. And people might be like, "Oh, that's harsh." It's like, no, it's not. I believe in him. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think that was the end of Casey. You know what I mean? I remember he had a client reach out to me, and I was like, "This isn't how Casey goes." You know what I mean? I was like, "This is how like guys like I go." You know what I mean? Like he's here for something beyond competing, right? And I think that he's definitely hyper aware of that now. So it was super cool to see that. But at that time, it was in the thick of it, you know, and he came out of the coma and he felt so bad about not being able to come to USA's. I was like, dude, he got out of the coma and he was asking me for my check-in. It's like, dude, fuck my check-in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about bodybuilding right now, dude. You good? Like, you felt like.